Jesus. Yes,
Father God,
indeed.
thank you for this day and these opportunities that you give us to get together and worship and fellowship. Lord, we need more of that. The more the better. Lord, we thank you for your Son, Jesus. Jesus, thank you for your sacrifice on the cross and the gift of the Holy Spirit. Lord, we know it's been a rough road to hoe, I should say, with this fire and all the problems and situations that have come through, but you're getting us through it. And it's about half out now. And we know it's going to be all the way out fairly soon. No more loss of life. We pray for that, Lord. We pray in Jesus' name. No more loss of life. No more loss of homes. But in the end, Lord, we know that you are a God of
Restoration.
Restoration. You will bring everything back to normal. You will bring everything back that has been lost. And then maybe more. Who knows? It's a new thing for a lot of people. Just pray for that. Just pray for them. You know, Lord, that you're always with us. You're always standing with us. And you're always helping us through these situations, leading and guiding. We just pray for more of that. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
You said
Yes,
that
Lord.
rough road to hoe. It just came to me that, you know, it was extra labor put into that row, that section of field that needed to be plowed, and it turns it from unusable ground into fertile soil. And rough rows are okay, because the end is the fruit that comes from it.
Amen to that.
Thanks, Joe.
Father, we thank you for today, Lord. We thank you that you love us and that you're not through with us yet, Lord. That we all are works in progress, Lord. We thank you, Father, for who you are. You're a good Father. And we praise you. We thank you that you're weaving us into your holy tapestry, Lord God. That you're bringing us about. And all things are good because you are good. You're holy. And you've called us into holiness, Lord. So we just honor you today. We honor you, Abba Father. In Jesus' name. Well, I've heard 1,000 stories about think you're love, and I've heard tender whispers of love. And that you please and that I'm never alone. You're good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. Sing that again. You're good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am. When I've seen many searching for answers far and wide, but I know we're all searching for answers. Only you provide, and you know just what we need before we say a word. You're good, good Father. It's who you are. It's who you are. Jesus. Amen.
You are my shepherd, Jesus.
Sing it again.
You are my shepherd, Jesus.
We're gonna follow you.
You are my shepherd, Jesus.
One more time.
You are my shepherd, Jesus.
Here we go. The Lord is my shepherd.
Lord is my shepherd,
I will fear no evil.
I will fear no evil.
You are my shepherd.
You are my shepherd,
I will fear no evil.
I will fear no evil.
Surely goodness
Goodness and mercy, you will cover me. All the days of my life will cover me. Surely I'm going to dwell in the house of the Lord forever and ever and ever and ever.
I just want to speak over you today. Like a spiritual mom would speak to her babies. We got fire going all the way around us. But we're not going to fear that thing, no. Why? Because you are my shepherd, Jesus. We're going to follow you.
You are my shepherd,
Yes, you are.
Jesus.
We're going to praise you, Lord, through the flames. Search me, oh God. See if there be Lord God. That's a good thing. We just lift this to you, Lord. We lift this worship to you. We lift this day to you. Father, bless Terri as Terri Sue's going to bring the word today. I'm excited.
Yeah.
Bless her today, Father.
Yes.
And we just eagerly receive your holy goodness today. All God's people say.
Amen.
Hi, I'm Pastor Sharon Scott of Let Go and Soar Ministries. My husband Walt Scott and I have our ministry way up in Northern California where all the fires are, but temporary. I'd like to introduce to you Pastor Terri Sue Taylor.
Hello.
She's going to give us the message today, and we are incredibly excited about that. So bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here today. And God bless you all. I'd like to speak to you about grace under fire. We've been seeing a lot of fires lately in our neck of the woods. So I'm just very happy to be here. And I don't speak very often, so bear with me. Thank you. Grace under fire. This little sentence popped into my head the other day, grace under fire, when we were asked to teach, my husband and I. I've been looking through the latest reports of the huge fire that's been burning in our area for nearly a month now. But a common theme I noticed in all the devastating reports, with pictures of the ash and rubble, piles that were once lovely homes, or beautiful photos of people whose lives were lost in the fire, was the grace shown by our community around us. Even in the midst of this blazing inferno exploding through the homes and lives of so many here. Even in their grief, some of those who lost their homes, both citizens and fire and rescue personnel alike, still stood strong, loved on others, even helped animals escape the flames and reached out to feed those who were evacuated or fighting the flames. This was grace under fire in action.
Amen.
To me. Now, I would like to take a moment and see if any of you guys have a short little testimony of what grace under fire looks like to you in our local community. Can you think of some local heroes that displayed grace under fire? Anyone? And if not, I can think of one.
Go ahead.
I can think of a couple. Well, there was this one instance that in the small town of Shasta, between here and Redding, it was completely decimated. There's very few houses and buildings standing. But anyway, there was this fireman coming through, and it was amazing. They saw these chickens and these little ducks and little birds that somebody had to leave behind. And they saw somebody's garden that was still intact. And they took the time, while fighting this huge inferno, they took the time to water the chickens and make sure they were fed and to water the little plants. And then the fireman left a little note, that he had done this and that to let the resident know that was evacuated that their babies were okay and that their plants were okay.
That's right.
There was another instance where a policeman was going through and helping people evacuate, and he came across this newborn fawn and pulled it out of the flames, couldn't find Mama anywhere, and drove it in his police car to a rescue place where it could get attention. And those to me are like local heroes,
Yeah.
for the two-leggeds and the four-leggeds. And then there's the lady that's the fire chief's wife, that every day she would cook breakfast and dinner for hundreds of firemen, just the people that would come through to fight our fire and keep our towns from burning down locally here. And I just was amazed. Would you like to share?
Yesterday we came home from the coast, and on our way home, we encountered a stop sign on the road to our house, and a county employee was stationed there, and this person was obviously very hot and very uncomfortable parked in the vehicle, preventing people that didn't belong out on our stretch of road to get in. And she confessed to us, she's a sister in the Lord, that she had just run down to the creek and jumped into the creek to cool off and returned to her job, and she was working overtime. It was way past 5 o'clock, it was coming up on 6. And Grace Under Fire shows that even county employees can find a moment of levity in this tragedy that we're all dealing with. And went down and cooled off in the spring. She was there all by herself on the side of the road, no one else anywhere near her, around her, doing what she's been called to do. And
That's right.
To me, is Grace Under Fire.
That's right.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Good.
I do have one, Terri Sue. And I'll come next to you so I can give it.
Okay.
All right.
So I'll get real close because I want to make sure I know the brand.
And she likes me too.
Yes, kind of. We have our local evacuation center at the high school. And I was so touched by Jim French. And I don't know who was playing with him. Do you know, Shelley?
I don't.
Another gentleman.
Yeah.
We're just providing entertainment at the evacuation center. They just went, brought their guitars and sat and played music.
Nice.
And that's a blessing, just to give them a little bit of something else to think of besides, is my home gonna be there when I get back?
Yeah.
You know, so I just wanna bless Jim French for that.
Yes.
Amen.
Amen.
And all the firemen and policemen,
Yes.
volunteers, some of which lost their homes and still kept
That's
fighting.
right. That's
And feeding
amazing.
the people.
Pilots,
Letting other people.
Pilots, oh my goodness.
dozer operators.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing heroes. I mean, I was watching a video that somebody posted of these interesting water planes, and they would come down and they would scoop water straight just from
Right out of the lake.
They go back up. It was amazing what technology we have to fight these nasty beasts. And just, it's amazing. I just thank God for the ingenuity and
That's right.
the inventions that He's allowed people to come up with. It's just, wow, we're amazing creations, aren't
That's right.
we?
Yes.
So,
Stands to
Most
reason
of us-
we have an amazing creator.
absolutely.
Yeah, we
It's-
take after
well,
our dad.
Yeah, we are made in the image of God,
That's
so he's obviously very smart. Most of us on the average day will never have to be confronted by a huge wall of flames, or race to save a family from a disaster, or a tiny fawn from a blazing inferno. Oh, I'm so glad, eating through their little forest homes. Most of us will wake up, get dressed, and begin our day again, just like the day before, without a second thought or anything more than what's on the schedule for today and what to do about it. So, how does this apply to the rest of us who might not see ourselves as heroes, like the ones mentioned above? Well, Grace Under Fire has a way of visiting even the most mundane lives.
That's right.
Trust me. Here are a couple of examples in the Bible to get your thinker tickled, just for starters. Let's go to Daniel chapter 2, verses 1 through 19.
Excuse me. In the second year of his reign, Nebuchadnezzar had dreams. His mind was troubled and he could not sleep. So the king summoned the magicians, enchanters, sorcerers, and astrologers to tell him what he had dreamed. When they came in and stood before the king, he said to them, I have had a dream that troubles me and I want to know what it means. Then the astrologers answered, King, in Aramaic, O king, live forever. Tell your servants the dream and we will interpret it. That's one paragraph, so I thought I'd stop there.
Yeah.
I have the next
Pick up
one.
on 5.
Daniel, chapter 2.
Oh, two.
It says here in verse 5, the king replied to the astrologers, this is what I have firmly decided. If you do not tell me what my dream was and interpret it, I will have you cut into pieces,
Hello.
Ow!
and your
Pressure.
houses turned into piles of rubble.
No stress here.
If you tell me the dream and explain it, you will receive from me gifts and rewards and great honor. So
Yay!
tell me the dream and interpret it for me. Verse 7. And once more they replied, let the king tell his servants the dream, and we will interpret it. Verse 8.
Sounds like a trick.
Then the king answered, I am certain that you are trying to gain time because you realize that this is what I have firmly decided. If you do not tell me the dream, there is just one penalty for you. You have conspired to tell me misleading and wicked things, hoping the situation will change.
Oh, boy.
So then, tell me the dream, and I will know that you can interpret for me.
Some wisdom coming out of that guy.
You want us to keep going?
Yeah, well, that just kind of lets you know these guys were
Okay.
trying to weasel out of something, weren't they?
In the New King James, they substitute the word Chaldeans for those people. So the Chaldeans answered the king and said, there is not a man on earth who can tell the king's matter. Therefore, no king, lord, or ruler has ever asked such things of any magician, astrologer, or Chaldean. It is a difficult thing that the king requests, and there is no other who can tell it to the king except the God, whose dwelling is not with flesh. For this reason, the king was angry and very furious, and gave the command to destroy all the wise men of Babylon.
Oh
So the decree went out, and they began killing the wise men, and they sought Daniel and his companions to kill them. In this paragraph.
Oh, boy.
no! Yikes!
How far are we
So-
going to go with that? Is that it?
He's at
Let me
29, I
see.
think.
We're in verse 14.
Yeah,
You want to go to 29?
yeah, I will be.
Okay.
Let's see. Well, I just wanted to say that that looks like grace under fire for Daniel, doesn't it?
Certainly
boy.
looks like the fire part.
Yeah, it looks like the fire part.
No stress here.
Okay, no stress here. Okay, pressure, pressure. So,
I thought it was interesting that the things that the wise men of the world had no
Yes.
clue about how God interacted with people. And their idea of gods couldn't interact with people.
That's right.
And their whole perception of a relationship with God was impossible to them. So that set the groundwork for Daniel so well. It just totally set the stage. So
Yeah.
when he does get to step up and talk to the king, it's awesome.
yes. So, why don't we continue from 14 to, let's see.
Were we on 19 or 14? 14, okay, I'm sorry.
About 14 to 19.
Yeah, 14 to 19.
You got that part, Shane?
It's a little bit tough. There's
Daniel
some really
chapter
weird
2.
names in here.
You got
But God works through somebody. Listen to this.
Yeah.
When Arach, the commander of the king's guard, had gone out to put to death wise men of Babylon, Daniel spoke to him with the wisdom that tact. He asked the king's officer, why did the king issue such a harsh decree? Aaron that explains the matter to Daniel. At this, Daniel went into the king and asked for time so that he might interpret the dream for him. Then Daniel returned to his house and explained the matter to his friends
Hananiah.
Mishael, and Azariah. He urged them to plead for mercy from the God of heaven concerning
say something here really quick. You'll notice that Daniel's knee-jerk reaction was not to run and hide, and although he did want to live, so, you know.
Details,
So he
details.
turned to God and his friends. Hey friends, pray with me.
Yeah.
We are in a pickle, and it tastes sour.
Mhm,
Oh.
yeah.
So,
Coming from a person who does not like pickles.
coming from a person who doesn't like pickles.
Amen to that, sister.
Yes.
So, anyhow, these guys, instead of panicking, and they were definitely in grace under fire
Yes.
in this situation. And God showed up and showed out.
Mm-hmm.
Because when we turn to him, he does something. There's a little saying called push.
Yeah.
Pray until something happens.
That's right.
That's right.
So, and I like to put it a little further, pray until the supernatural happens.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
There you go. I like that.
Would you like me to finish that section?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. So this will be from 19 to 24, right? You wanted to go to 24?
Let me see.
29.
Oh,
29,
29.
actually.
Well, I'll go from 19 to 23 then. and somebody can
Jim
finish
has to
off.
read it.
Yeah, Jim's gonna read.
All right.
Okay.
Then the secret was revealed to Daniel in a night vision. So Daniel blessed the God of heaven. Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of God forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. And he changes the times and the seasons. He removes kings and raises up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise and knowledge to those who have understanding. He reveals deep and secret things. He knows what is the darkness, and light dwells with him. I thank you and praise you, O God of my father. You have given me wisdom and might, and have now made known to me what we asked of you. For you have made known to us the king's demand.
Amen.
That's so awesome. And I think this is such a great example of grace under fire, because not only were they seeking out God's grace, but they knew they could depend on him for it. That is such a place of grace, a place of being able to depend on God without wondering whether or not he's going to show up. It's not, if I pray, maybe he'll hear me.
Right.
They're saying, this is a desperate situation, and we know God can help us, and so that's where we're going.
Faith in action.
That's right.
Faith in
That's
action.
right.
That's right.
Yep. They didn't let fear overwhelm them.
That's right. That's right. And it was trying.
It was trying, yeah.
Oh, big time.
I was going to leave out verse 24 and just skip to 25, but then I looked at it and I realized that Daniel, even though he lived in an ungodly culture, and he knew that the wise men weren't really that wise, he still stood up for them. So let's read from 24.
Where did you end?
24 to 30.
Okay. Okay, Jim.
Okay. Therefore Daniel went to Arioch, whom the king had appointed to destroy the wise men of Babylon. He went and said thus to him, Do not destroy the wise men of Babylon. Take me before the king, and I will tell the king the interpretations. Then Arioch quickly brought Daniel before the king and said thus to him, I have found a man of the captives of Judah who will make known to the king the interpretations. The king answered and said to Daniel, Whose name was Belteshazzar? Are you able to make known to me the dream which I have seen and its interpretations? Daniel answered in the presence of the king and said, The secret which the king has demanded, the wise men, the astrologers, the magicians, and the soothsayers cannot declare to the king. But there is a God in heaven who reveals secrets, and he has made known to the king Nebuchadnezzar,
Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah, Nebuchadnezzar.
Nebuchadnezzar,
That guy.
what will be in the latter days, your dream and the visions of your head upon your bed were these. As for you, O king, thoughts came to your mind while on your bed about what would come to pass after this, and he who reveals secrets has made known to you what will be. But as for me, this secret has not been revealed to me, because I have more wisdom than anyone living, but for our sakes who make known the interpretation to the king, and that you may know the thoughts of your heart.
Yeah.
Humility.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's not trying to take any credit for it at all.
No.
Yeah.
God
So-
told me this so that he'll keep us safe, not so I can look good.
That's right.
That's right.
That's right.
So how far do I go?
That was it.
That's it
Oh,
for
okay.
now.
Well, I was on the roll.
Well, you did good. But the rest of it's like what the dream is and everything, and that doesn't apply to the actual lesson. But I would encourage you guys to read it at home
Yes.
and in your own good time about the whole thing. It's an amazing story of grace under fire. So here we have 4 young men that lived in an ungodly city, captives of a heathen king, but they still serve the Lord.
That's right.
The king had weird dreams. He did not serve the Lord. He called on his favorite wise men, the astrologers, the soothsayers. He was told that these 4 young captives, especially Daniel, had a gift for interpreting weird dreams. But they still served the Lord, seeking his holy wisdom first, even under a death threat. The king was amazed as Daniel explained precisely his dreams and what they meant. As a result, Daniel and his friends lived well under the heathen king for quite some time. The king even recognized that the God of Daniel was powerful and could do great things. Grace under fire. So, there's some questions I wanted to pose, and let's see what you guys think. What is the difference between the king's wise men and God using the prophetic abilities in Daniel to interpret the dreams? And can he do that in us, even in stressful circumstances?
Yes.
Yes.
If we ask and we're patient and wait for the answer. But the wise men didn't have God. They didn't believe in God. They didn't have a God that could give them that information. So there was the big difference between them and Daniel right there.
They believed in things that either had no life or were dead.
Yeah.
Whereas our God is alive. Daniel's God is alive.
Yep.
Oftentimes we see in Scripture where God gives a point of view that is obviously not of Him. And
Yeah.
then He offsets that with a proper view of seeking Him first, highlighting Him, putting Him on the throne of our hearts and front and center.
Yeah.
And then therefore we can see, with our frail human understanding, the difference between what they don't ought to do and what they should ought to do.
Yes.
And therefore we can emulate that, we can copy that, we can follow through with that, and therefore give God glory and praise Him.
Amen. That's a thought that occurred to me too, is that true grace that actually comes from God, will always glorify God.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's a great litmus test.
Yes, it is.
If you have any question about it, is this grace that we're perceiving, is this glorifying God or some person?
Yeah.
Also too, when I think about grace, I think about His unmerited favor.
Yes.
God's favor is upon you, and you didn't have to earn it. You didn't have to say, "Hey, look at me," or whatever. God highlighted His unmerited favor, His grace, to Daniel and to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right?
Yeah.
And he showed the favor. He gave Daniel the interpretation, where the Chaldeans and the soothsayers and the wicked astrologers, they didn't have God's supernatural unmerited favor. That's why they got destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
With Grace Under Fire, they still didn't even smell like smoke.
That's right. That's right.
Okay,
Oh, wait, there's more.
oh, wait, there's more.
That's right.
So, and no, you don't have to pay $19.95 for shipping.
Or double
Hallelujah.
the offer.
God's word is free.
Yay, hallelujah.
And priceless.
Yes, it is quite priceless. You can't really sell it. You should sell
Better
it
not.
with the paper.
They
The
tried.
word itself. So, all seemed well for these young men. They were promoted and lived comfortably, able to freely worship their Lord, although discreetly because their city's ungodly culture. Grace Under Fire visited once again. This time, Daniel's friends' loyalty were truly tried by fire under the king's next decree. So, let's go to Daniel chapter 3.
Uh-oh.
Bum, bum, bum.
Here comes the judge.
Yeah.
Okay. Amen.
So, I'm going to ask you to read Daniel chapter 3, verses 1, and then 4 through 14. The only reason I skip a couple is because it's repetitive. Okay.
Okay, Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits and its width 6 cubits. He set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon.
To give you an idea of a cubit, generally, it's the length from the inside of the elbow to the end of the finger. About a foot and a half.
Mine just says 90 feet high and
Yeah.
9 feet wide.
There you go.
Ah,
Yeah.
You figure a foot and a half times 60 would be 90 feet.
Right.
I love it when they do the math for you.
Yes.
That's right.
So the king got the idea that God was powerful. So I guess he figured that if he put up this big thing, that God would be powerful or something. I have no idea, but
He was
He
confused,
was
that much
very
we know.
confused.
So we're at 14 now?
So, yeah, so what we're doing is going from verse 4 to verse 14.
4. Then the herald loudly proclaimed, "This is what you are commanded to do, O peoples, nations, and men of every language. As soon as you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, and harp, pipes, and all kinds of music, you must fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace." Therefore, as soon as they heard the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, and all kinds of music, all the people, nations, and men of every language fell down and worshipped the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up.
okay.
Somebody else can read 8.
That's interesting. Even in our culture today, there's certain religious entities that in some countries they'll start playing a certain music, and so the people have to stop and bow.
Yeah.
You know, like however many times a day this happens. And so it's very similar to what this king was doing. You know, it may not be a giant idol that they're bowing to, but they're bowing to something on response to what the government is telling them to do. So, or their leaders.
So
So
this
it
just
happens
isn't just
today.
an ancient history, it's.
Right,
too,
it happens. There's some countries on the globe, and some of you out there in YouTube land may know what they are and where they are.
Or be there.
Where you have to, as soon as you hear the chanting or the singing that they do over the loudspeakers, you have to stop what you're doing, turn to a certain direction, bow, and say certain things.
It's a call to prayer.
So, yeah, and so that happens even today, and if you don't, then you lose your head.
Yeah, there is a
So,
penalty.
yeah, it carries a penalty, it's not too fun. So, Yeah, that was really, really tough times for these poor fellows. But guess what they didn't do? They didn't do it. So,
We're reading what?
these fellows were loyal to their king, both on heaven, or in heaven and in earth. I would like also for you guys to read verses 16 through 19. Somebody take that little snippet of scripture, please.
We don't want to go 8 through 14.
Um,
I stopped
16,
I stopped at 7. So.
Okay, I got-
chapter 3, 16 through 19.
I got it.
Okay.
Sure, it says here, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to the king, O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to save us from
Is
it.
Come on.
Yeah.
And he will rescue us from your hand, O king. But
Will.
even if he does not, we want you to know, O king, that we will not serve your gods or
Amen.
worship the image of gold you have set up.
That was pretty bold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That took a spine.
Then Nebuchadnezzar was furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and his attitude toward them changed. And he ordered the furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want me to keep reading or?
Oh, sure, I guess so. I was going to skip those 2 parts, but we
Okay.
can go on because the next set is from 22 to 28.
Okay. Well, okay, from 22 and 28. The king's command was so urgent, and the furnace was so hot that the flames of the fire killed the soldiers who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego.
That's kind of hot.
And these 3 men, firmly tied, fell into the blazing furnace.
Ah!
Yikes.
Everybody died in the end? No.
Ah.
No.
Then King Nebuchadnezzar leaped to his feet in amazement and asked his advisors, weren't there 3 men that were tied up and thrown into the fire?
Check this out. Check
They
it out.
certainly replied, oh, certainly, O king. And then he said, look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed. Then the 4th looks like the son of the gods.
Wow.
How did he know that?
Yeah. How do you know what the Son of God did?
Amazing. Yeah.
Wow.
I thought that was kind of important too when it said that the king's attitude toward them changed. This is the same 3 that were in support of Daniel when he interpreted the dream, and they had found great favor with this same king,
Yep.
Yep.
and lived for years and years
New
under
jobs,
that favor.
and-
But
yeah.
as soon as they said, no, we're not going to worship your giant idol, the king just
Flip the
forgot
switch.
all the good he ever felt for these guys.
That's right.
And worked on from his pride. His pride was hurt. And he said, okay, we're going to put you to death.
That's right.
Right. Bad thing.
The ultimate fit. You didn't do what I wanted you to do.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, only
right.
he had the power to take a person's life within his
Yeah.
That's right.
That's
Temper tantrum.
yikes. But you know, that's what we call grace under fire. He came through again.
Now, that was ultimate.
The old,
That
yes.
was real fire and real death involved in the fire.
That's right.
And real
God's
grace.
grace
Yeah.
came
That's
through.
right.
So, these fellows were loyal to their king, both on earth and in heaven. They still served the Lord. The king did not. He wanted everyone to worship a giant statue. But these fellows would not. So, they were persecuted in the most ultimate manner possible. The furious king threw them into an extremely hot fire. They still served the Lord. And God honored them for it. He was with them in the fire. They still served the Lord. God sometimes allows us to go through things God does deliver us from evil, but sometimes He walks us through it too.
It's good.
We are never, ever, ever alone,
Amen.
even in the fire. Remember this, and you really will be okay. In fact, watch and see. Trust grace under fire, and through it all, you will truly be blessed.
Yeah.
Amen.
Grace under fire, indeed. I'd like to play a song that kind of tells what this is all about. So, and I'd like you to listen about how God gets us through the fire. And our little community here is experiencing a great big fire. So I want you to please keep us in prayer as we pray for each other and support each other through the fire.
Amen.
Country and western singer named Randy Travis. And he sings about how God brings us through the fire.
So many times I've questioned certain circumstances or things I could not understand. Many times in trials, weakness blurs my vision, and my frustration gets so out of hand. Then I am reminded I've never been forsaken. I've never had to stand the test alone. As I look at all the victories, the Spirit rises up in me. It's through the fire my weakness is made strong. He never promised that the cross would not get heavy, or the hill would not be hard to climb. He never offered victory without fighting, but he said help would always come in time. Just remember when you're standing in the valley of decision, and the adversary says give in, just hold on. Our Lord will show up, and He will take you through the fire again. I know within myself that I would surely perish if I trust the hand of God. He'll shield the flames again. He never promised that the cross would not get heavy, that it would not be hard to climb. He never offered victory without fighting, but he said help would always come in time. Just remember when you're standing in the valley of decision, and the adversary says give in, just hold on. Our Lord will show up, and He will take you through the fire again. Just hold on. Our Lord will show up, and He will take you through the fire again.
Amen. Amen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know who that backup singer was there, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Great.
know. But I just want to encourage you guys that even though we're going through hard times, and even though our day is not perfect today, just remember you're alive. You have even if it's a really bad day, it's a really great day because you're alive and God's given you another chance to make the rest of your day better. All you have to do is figure out how and ask God to help you. So I would like to
Amen.
pray before I close. I just thank you, Lord. I thank you, Lord, for the fires in our lives. We don't want the fires. We don't even need them, or we don't think we do. But we just thank you, Lord, for bringing us through the fire. Thank you for walking with us and holding our hands. That you're always there for us, even when we can't feel you, we can't see you sometimes.
Amen.
We can't hear you.
That's right.
We just know that we're not alone. There's just something in our heart, just in the very center of our being, that reminds us we're not alone. Thank you for sending people into our lives to remind us that you are with us and that you can work through anything, godly or ungodly, to remind us that we are not alone, that you are with us. And I ask you, Lord, just to touch the hearts of all those who heard this message today, that you would supernaturally hug them and let them know that you are real, that you're not some being far away, you're not a statue, you're not the universe, you're the one that made the universe,
Amen.
but you're not the universe. And we just thank you, Lord, that we don't have to do something special. We don't have to do backflips or cannonballs into a lake or say certain things or do certain things to earn your love and your grace under fire. That you just do it because you love us and we're your children. And we thank you that you love your King's kids just as we are, even with all our foibles and faults and foul-ups and even in the flames. We thank you, Lord. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Terri Sue, I have a question for you before you go.
Yay, a question.
If someone is wondering, how can I become a child of God? How can I become a Christian? What would you say to them?
I would say that all you have to do is take a look at yourself and realize that, yeah, even though I might have everything I need, I might have a Tesla, I might have a nice house. A Tesla's a fancy car, by the way. Anyway, or I might have nothing, but I do need something. And I do feel alone. And I would like you to know that there is a God who loves you and that He's real and He's there with you in the flames. And when the money stops coming in or the house is gone, that He's still there. And all I would ask is that you would take a moment, close your eyes, and talk to him. He's a good listener. He won't argue with you. He's a very good listener, and he won't interrupt you. And just talk to him and tell him how you feel. Ask him to help you. Ask him to come into your life. And offer yourself to come into his life and his way. Ask him to forgive you for the things that you might feel bad that you've done or said or the way you've been. And know that he is there waiting for you. Just say the word. He's a gentleman. And unlike some other religions out there that say God is just waiting to bop you over the head because you did something wrong. Or you got to say this and that and that and this and this and that. and then do that after you do this, then maybe he'll like you a little. That's not how it is. God loves you, and he's a good listener, and he wants to listen to you, and he wants to tell you good things too, when you take the time to listen too.
Yes.
Just ask him in your heart, Lord, help me. I might have this stuff, but this stuff doesn't make me happy for very long. I need something deep inside. Help me. Find out what that is. And I find out that it's you, Lord. I need you, and I know you need me too. Because you made me so that we could be friends. You died for me and rose for me too, so that I won't have to be alone anymore. Please, I thank you, Lord, that you're washing away all that nasty stuff that made me not like myself and not like the world around me. Thank you, Lord, for giving me joy back. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you, Terri Sue. Amen.